And sometimes you have issues that come forward that only affect your district. Certainly you are going to be, you know, the lion's share right behind your district and what they need. But you also have to look on the larger issues. It's what's best for the city as a whole.
Thank you. Norman Papoose.
You tend to look at decisions through your own special prism. I mean, what's your background? I mean, for Greg and I, it's economics, financial markets, looking at the way money moves, looking at supply and demand. But that isn't always the right way to look at things. And I've learned that the best thing you can do when you make a decision are find experts on both sides of the issue and let them explain it to you. None of us are going to have all the answers all the time. I'm very passionate about some of these issues, and nobody can sway me from that position. But there are other positions I have that I think I need more information from. So to answer the question, how am I going to make my decision? I'm going to do it through my core values and through the input of people I trust and who I know are qualified to give advice in those areas.
Thank you, Norman. Mayoral.
I think I'll be representing District 6. So first, I would look for the people in District 6 for their input and the whole island. And being elected, it's representing the voters. We're not up here representing, if elected, ourselves. We're representing the voters. I am also known for researching and looking at the facts and taking everything into account. So I would take all of the aforementioned and take them all into coming up with my decision on a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Varela.
Well, I think part of my responsibility as a council person is definitely to educate myself on the issues. And part of that is to take that information that I receive back to my constituents, educate them, so they in turn can turn back to me and tell me how they want to be represented. If I'm truly your voice, then I should bring your concerns and what you want back to the table. If it affects the island, then I need to do the same thing with the island. Hear what the people are saying. If I truly represent you and I am your voice in government, then I need to listen to what you want me to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for the mayors, we have another one that came from a guest tonight. Oh, about 6:20 turned it in, and so it's fresh due. Here we go. It says this is for the 3 mayoral candidates. Okay, who dropped out? Okay, well, maybe all of you weren't here yet. It says, and there may be some clarification needed here, okay? What happens if your plan for public housing backfires and Texas Appleseed files a lawsuit aimed at the money that has been issued for low to moderate income persons? Do you understand that would stop even the housing construction?
That is something we need to worry about. But you have to remember that the Galveston Housing Authority is in the middle of this, not to the extreme. There's some who say no public housing shall be built on Galveston Island. Some of those guys are running for office here. There's also advocates who say, we really don't care how it's done, just build the bare minimum number. If they turn out to be projects like they used to be, so much the better. That's no way for Galveston to go forward. The one thing I want you to know about this mayor, I will never support projects, ever. And I understand that for years and years and years, your leaders allowed them to continue. So it's natural that you would think anyone who's mayor would probably do the same. But you see, I'm the one who got the new housing authority on board to do a mixed income program so that we would never do projects again. And my board, for the first time in 70 years that there's been a housing authority, made a preference system that would make sure that veterans, disabled, and elderly, and working people are the ones living in public housing, period.
Thank you.
Diane this evening touched on a word. She used continuity. Continuity is something that's important when things are going well. What concerned me is that when I first positioned myself to run for mayor, I needed to educate myself on my decisions of what platforms I was going to support. I found it very important to get both sides involved. So at the time, I felt the former Galveston Housing Authority director, who was Art Mabasa, I'd love to sit in between he and David Stanowski. Former Galveston Housing Authority, the facts on our current plan as far as what is not being publicized. And I sat and listened. There was a great plan in place. There was a plan in place that after 5 years, we dealt with not having continued poverty. When the mayor was elected, he decided to stop that continuity and bring in his campaign manager.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Rosen.
The conciliation agreement was not signed by anybody in Galveston. I've been told that the Housing Authority cannot do vouchers. And I want you all to go to the meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and I want you to see what the resolution number 2624 is. It clearly states, now there before me resolved that the Galveston Housing Authority Board of Commissioners amends the master development plan to include housing choice and project-based vouchers. It's all just a bunch of bull.
Well, I wore my boots. Okay. I stole his line. All right, Greg Roof.
All right, yeah, I don't accept the premise of the question that we're going to be sued, and here's the deal. If Texas Appleseed was really concerned about fair housing and the children who will be living there, they would join Galveston in helping us to disperse it across the multi-county areas surrounding the Houston metropolitan area. To reconcentrate public housing is not just bad for Galveston, but it's bad for the people that they are trying to help. The conciliation, the parties to the conciliation agreement, frankly, we need to reach out a handout to them and say, join us in helping to come up with a better solution than what has been presented by the current GHA. So I look at it much more as a personal thing than just simply, are you packing it back into Galveston? But others who are in favor of fair housing should join Galveston in helping to disperse it.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to have one more question. I'm going to give it to everybody, and then we'll go to your 2-minute closing remarks. And Mike, I'm so sorry, you're over there way at the end where I can barely see you. I'm going to start with you on this one. And we're going to work this way, and then come back from Greg Roof to Joe. So you get to be last and hear what everybody said. Okay. All right, here we go. What plans do you have? Oh, again, this was submitted by one of our audience members. There you go, I can barely read it. What plans do you have for the city that will take us from the standstill that we are in, and how will you implement if you are elected? Details, please. Mike.
I think a lot of it's been addressed. One of the things I think, you know, to take a step forward, we need to start bringing people back to Galveston. And I think some of the things they mentioned earlier is, you know, we got to make our schools more appealing. We need to bring more of those middle-class jobs. We need to encourage middle-class development of housing. I think people are looking for quality police and fire protection and other services in the city. I know it's in a comprehensive plan. We need to upgrade our parks and our recreational centers and stuff. But the thing about it is, it's just a plan until you implement it and you find the funds to implement it. The comprehensive plan is very detailed, but it's just a plan until it's put into place. And it's very interesting how long it's been going on, since 2001. But I think we need to take whatever assets we have, like the port. We can take the port, and I think it needs to be used for what it was meant to be used for, and that's cargo. And I'm at the end, I can't finish.
Well, that was a good closing remark. Marie Rob.
Hi. I think we all need to start working together. We need to look at the things that are stifling this city, such as the public housing issues. We focus on negatives. And if I'm elected, I will work with a team of council people who are elected to look at how we can turn everything around, from housing, bringing back our population, making or assuring that our schools are seen in a positive light, looking at the departments in City Hall and how they can be more efficient in making this island the great island that it is today. Thanks.
Thank you, Marie. Norman Peppies.
My plan for this island is to take care of this island first. We're going to take care of our citizens first. We're going to take care of our existing vacant and dilapidated housing first. We're going to take care of the businesses that are here first. We are going to stop going over the causeway and looking for the solutions when the solutions we have are right here in Galveston. It really irks me that we start looking for money in Austin. We start looking for businesses in Houston. We start looking for things everywhere else except what we have here. And I'm going to prioritize our citizens, our infrastructure, and our economic development to start on this side of the causeway and not that side of the causeway.
Thank you, Norman.
We definitely need to look at the opportunities that we have with UTMB. UTMB has a 10-year plan to put $1 billion worth of investment into this community. That's going to create jobs that will have benefits, and that's good for our island and for our citizens. That also can dovetail into more people living here if we position that in the correct way. Also, the port, we have several exciting opportunities at the port that are coming forward. One will be an installation on Pelican Island that will place railroad track and a railroad bridge from Pelican Island to the mainland instead of using the current bridge to bring traffic back onto the island. Those are things that are powerful in our community. It's good paying jobs, it will attract residents and help our island to grow in a very positive way.
Thank you. Mr. Beatty.
I think we start with, pardon me, I think we start with realizing, recognizing the reality of Galveston. We have an economy here that is built on tourism, healthcare, retail, hotel, and hospitality. The reality of this is that most of these jobs are minimum wage jobs. If we concentrate on affordable housing, whether it's subsidized housing or as long as it's affordable housing, accompanied by living wage jobs, decent transportation, fire and police, protection of homeowners' rights, quality of life issues, I think that will lead to a growing population, will expand our tax base, and will enable Galveston to take its rightful place in the county as the, we like to call it, the jewel of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris Gonzalez.
We're all here because this is a city election that we're concerned about. We're making sure that we have elected officials that are qualified to address the issues that you all have, that the city has. So with me, I'm continuing moving forward with what my thoughts are, and that's open door policy at City Hall. We've got that. We've seen the difference between old management and new management. We know we have an open door policy there. Appropriate staff in key positions. We need to make sure that the staff understands that we want truth from them. We want to make sure that they have efficient operations, that there's fair working environments for everybody there, because if all of those that are serving our community feel secure in their environment, they're going to come out and they're going to do more. They're going to be proud to work, not just there because they need to own a paycheck. When others see that the city is a functioning entity, other business ventures will be created. They will see that the city is open for business and we are moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Rusty Lang.
I don't see us at a standstill. I see us at a decline. And this is nothing new, ladies and gentlemen. The city of Galveston has been declining since 1980. We had a population of over 67,000 at that time. We had a population of 57,000 in 2000, and now we have a population of 47,000. We're declining, ladies and gentlemen. We have the opportunity now to change that. We utilize every penny that we can of these CDBG funds that we have out there to improve our infrastructure, improve our blighted areas, to utilize funds for the economic development, to encourage businesses here on the island to grow and develop, to bring more middle-income jobs, which can afford middle-income housing here. We have to encourage that as strong as we can. The port, the UTMB, all these facilities which are going over Causeway, we can encourage the building of middle-income homes, and with the help of the school system, bring those folks back home. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Root.
I don't see our city at an impasse. I think there are some very tough issues that take some time to work out, like public housing and other things. But I want to talk about a few good things, Joe. I want to give Mr. Mayor, I want to give you credit on the clean team. I mean, the city does look cleaner. I want to look at downtown. I mean, there are new businesses downtown. Heck, there's a new pizza place down on the Strand that's open till 4 in the morning. Who'd have thought that ever happened, right? I mean, there's the pleasure pier. There are some awesome things going on in Galveston Island. There are people rebuilding homes. There are people building new businesses here. So I don't think we're at an impasse. I think we're at a decision point, especially on public housing. And I think we all agree on this. If the mayor is reelected, you are going to get public housing on this island. It's coming. He will tell you it's coming. If one of us is elected, I think we've made it pretty clear we're going to stop it. So I think that the decision point is here. It's not an impasse. We're at an election time, and come May 12th, you all are going to decide where we're heading.
Thank you. Mr. Rosen.
The first thing I would do is fix those traffic lights, George. Then we work on our infrastructure, we'll clean up the town, we'll do our code enforcements, and we will get the property that is formerly the Galveston Housing Authority sites, we will get that declared as surplus, had to release it, and we'll sell it to a developer. That will be a good little engine to start the surrounding area and provide new jobs, new construction. Thank you.
One of the first things I'd like to do is make sure that places you might remember like Dienst, Del Papa, Farmers Copper, that are now located on the other side of the causeway, no longer disappear from our island. That's economic development that we've lost. That's opportunity that we've not kept. We've not done our job as a city to give them a reason to stay here. In earlier debates, I've talked about the Galveston Trinity, which was UTMB, which was tourism. 30 seconds through now. UTMB tourism. The fact is that there's 4 legs. There's not just 3 legs. There's 4 legs of opportunity. We've got to realize that we have to include GISD in that mix. We have to realize that the school district is opportunity for economic development. The better support we give them, the more economic development we can expect.
Thank you. Mayor Jaworski.
We are not at a standstill. Do you remember when I wrote that article about a year ago, Successes in Galveston? I wrote it coming back from Washington, D.C., where we were in D.C. talking to the Department of Transportation. And I wrote so many things in my BlackBerry that the city manager and the staff that was with me, they couldn't believe it. So I put an article in the paper. Sounds like I may need to write another one. Some of the things I may put in there are $2 million of improvements at TNT Marine on Pelican Island, $16 million in 2 phases at Del Monte. Oaks 4 has opened, discharging the first 40 units of public homes for retired individuals. Disney Magic coming this year, $20 million improvement at the Moody Gardens Hotel. Galveston College, Greg, I'm coming right back at you with a compliment. Galveston College is now offering an applied science degree in engineering. That's a beautiful hookup to the T-STEM program and the universal access at Ball High. The city has more than 90 days worth of reserve funds. Less than 4 years after a 100-year storm, our reserve fund is full. We are not static, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. God's wasn't that inspired. It's turned into a love fest here. And people thought there would be fireworks. This is heartwarming. I love it. And you know what? We also read the article about your BlackBerry exploding. It was overloaded. All right, now, I want to compliment you all. We're done with the questions. And you all, I think, did an excellent job You were very forthcoming, very thoughtful. You really reasoned these things out, and you put your ideas across very well. Give them another hand. Look, because that's a nice motivational confidence builder, because it's time for their closing remarks. This is where you get up and you close the deal, buddies and ladies. Sorry. We're all neighbors. Okay, here we go. Let's start the way we did before. Mr. Jaworski. Closing remarks from all the candidates.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming out to sit in this beautiful tribute to Galveston's history. Let's just spend these last 2 minutes talking about what everyone keeps referring to as public housing, like it's some pejorative. Let me be real clear, guys. I ran for mayor for many reasons. Not one of them had anything to do with public housing. But I realized as I was maturing as a candidate in the final weeks before the election, that someone who's the mayor better stand up to our poverty problem. And it's a many-splendored thing. It has to do with Section 8 landlords who won't perform, and that means there's some who do. But you sit there and you make these judgment calls about who's valid to live on the island and who isn't. And we just take for granted that, well, those people who don't work and who are on drugs and all that, wait a minute, that's not you. That's not Galveston. You don't really feel that way. You've been led to believe by people purveying facts in the name of political wins and losses that somehow we don't need to have public housing. Well, it has been a scar on this island. And I am not going to apologize for people that I have no responsibility for. Past leaders, past mayors. All I can do is look forward. And so here's what I see. I see a town that I have to be mayor of all of them, all of us, and some of us make more money than others. I would like to know that since we have now made an eligibility criteria change, that if you are living in public housing, you're either a veteran, a senior, disabled, or working 30 hours a week or more, or training. Don't you think that there's at least enough people on this island who are flipping the hamburgers and changing the sheets at UTMB and working in Mr. Fertitta's hotels who would like their children to play on a Little League team here and would like to buy their groceries at Kroger and worship here at a Galveston church? Those are the ones who will be living in these affordable homes.
All right. Mayor Joe Jaworski, now Bo Rollins.
I'm not really sure if our mayor is speaking from what he's been told or actually living in public housing. I have lived in public housing. I'm a product of Section 8 housing. My mother and I, after my father was murdered on the seawall here in Galveston, we spent $30 a month on an apartment. I've lived it. I've made it out of it. I'm proud of that. I currently am very involved with many children from Central that previously lived in what we call the projects of Galveston. I am here to tell you this evening, they are not looking forward to moving back to the site. It was Cedar Terrace, Magnolia Homes. They like having a choice with their mother or their grandparents of having a yard, of utilizing our current housing stock to meet their needs, of not putting people who depend on an income, a rental income, either as a retirement or their investment through their life, to have to compete with the federal government. If we are to be the perfect town of 48,000 people, then let's be an island, a perfect island of 48,000 people. Let's have exemplary schools. Let's support the businesses that are currently here. Let's ensure that when people visit Galveston, they look and say, my God, look how well the city of Galveston's done. Sure would be great to have a home here and raise our family in Galveston. That, my friends, is what I would like to see happen during my 2 years as the mayor of Galveston. I would appreciate your vote May 12th.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And now, Lewis Rosen.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Gain, and thank you, Opera House. The future of Galveston will be determined to a great extent by the way we are able to solve the public housing issues we are facing. Public housing project and scattered site construction as proposed by the Galveston Housing Authority and the current mayor is grossly flawed. First, the plan does not meet HUD's own guidelines. You do not build public housing in disaster-prone areas. Secondly, the conciliation agreement was not signed by anybody in Galveston. As your mayor, the first thing I will do is ask the present Galveston Housing Authority Board for their resignation. Working with council, we will prioritize infrastructure repairs and see to it that each phase is completed. I will work with the city council and the city manager to make the permitting and planning process user-friendly. We will declare former public housing land surplus and sell it to private developers so it will go on the tax rolls. I am not accepting any contributions that in any way can be interpreted as a conflict of interest with the business of this city. To date, I have been endorsed by the Tavern Owners Association, Galveston Pro-Business PAC, Galveston Police Officers Association, the Galveston Firefighters Association, and Fredella, my wife. I am not afraid of anyone or any organization that is not doing the right thing for Galveston. I'm not afraid to say no. I am fair and I will lead with common business sense. I am listening now and I will continue to do so. I am running for mayor because I have the time, the skills, the leadership, and common sense to put Galveston on the right course. I do want your vote, and I do thank everybody for coming out and showing your concern for Galveston. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Louis Rosen, candidate for mayor, and now Greg Ruth.
George, thank you for hosting tonight. Mayor Jaworski, thank you. Bo, Louis, thank you for participating tonight. And thank you all for showing up and listening to us. I want to talk about the three issues that, regardless of whether or not I become mayor, I want you all to think about. If I become mayor, I will not allow paid parking back on our seawall. It is damaging to the island and our economy. If I'm elected mayor, I will not allow a single bit of public housing to be rebuilt in Galveston Island. I will seek a region-wide solution with Houston and many of the other cities and counties so that we can deal with poverty together. One thing Mayor Jaworski said is that poverty is a Galveston question. It is not. It is not a Galveston problem. It is an American problem. And it's something we all have to tackle together as Texans and Americans. It goes far beyond us living in this city. And we got to look at it that way. The last thing I want to spend my time talking about tonight is, again, I want to really emphasize the charter election. If you go to the City of Galveston's website, you can pull up all of the charter amendments that are on the ballot with us. You will have the chance to vote on 17 charter amendments, and I'd really like to emphasize Proposition 2 and Proposition 11. I would very much appreciate it if you would consider voting against Prop 2, because we do not need to extend council terms from 2 years to 3 terms.